Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of some Lysias, and I'm reading through on the murder of Eratosthenes, and we got up to section 26. So at this stage he is relating what happened on the night in question when he murdered Eratosthenes. Ego de apen hoti, but I said, and then we get hoti recitative here, so but I said, and then inverted commas, uk ego se apokteno ala totes polios nomos. Now this is important because this is his whole argument here. So I said, it is not I who will kill you, so I will not kill you, future from apokteno, but the nomos, the law of the city, understand, will kill you, the law which you, parabinon, transgressing, and then we get epoieso, second person middle here, from poieo, to regard, in the middle. So, and the peri, probably adverbial perhaps here, you regarded as very much of less importance than your own pleasures. So you have regarded it of lesser account. You've regarded it very, very much of lesser account than your pleasures. Slightly odd expression here. Kaimalon, halu. This is the middle aorist from the middle of hiereo, to choose. So, but you rather chose, literally, to sin such a sin, so to commit such a sin with regard to my wife and with regard to my children. You chose that rather than paisesthai, from, this is from patho, to pathomai in the middle, to obey. So patho I persuade, pathomai middle I obey, to obey the laws, kai kosmios anai, and to be, well, literally orderly, but perhaps decent, rather than to be a decent fellow. Hutos o Andres, ekenos tuton etuken, hon per hoi nomoi kelius intus toi auta presontes. So thus, O gentlemen of the jury, that man met with these things, and then this gets attracted into the genitive, the very ones which the laws literally bid they should meet with, for those who conduct themselves in respect of such things, so those who do such things. So his whole argument all the way through this is going to be that I acted in accordance with the laws. The laws say that if you catch someone in adultery with your wife and she's in on the act as well, then you can put them to death, and that's what he's saying here. So just do this again. So thus that man met with those things which the laws bid for those who do such things. Uk es harpastes ectes hodu. So he, not having been dragged in from the street, so their accusation is that Euphiletos tricked Eratosthenes into coming into the house and then murdered him, and so he's saying nothing like that happened at all. So he wasn't dragged in from es harpasdo, not having been dragged in from the street, from the road, nor cataphugon, nor having taken refuge at the hearth, as they say. This is the relatives of Eratosthenes are claiming then that, so the idea of being dragged in from the streets just a furphy, but they are claiming that he was a cataphugon, that he'd taken refuge at the hearth. Posga'an, well, this is a fixed expression, so for how could he have? He hostis who cat epesen from catapipto, who fell down immediately, having been struck, aorist passive from plaso, in the bedroom. Peri estrepsa, and I tied his 2 hands around him, and so many men were in the house, were within, whom uk edunata he was not able, diaphugain, to escape from, literally to flee through, so he couldn't escape from them. Uti, and we get uti, so, and the participle here is having neither sideron, literally iron, so that probably refers to a sword or a knife. Utixulon, nor wood, that is a club. Uti ala uden, nor anything else. Hoi, by which he might ward off, he might defend himself. This is from amunamai, the middle of amuno, and with which he might ward off those entering who had entered in, that is, into the house. So how could he possibly have done all this? So here's a question, going back with the pos ga'an. O Andres, but gentlemen, oimai kai humas aidenai, hoti hoi me tadikaya pratontes u homologusi tu sectrus legain alethe. So, but, O gentlemen of the jury, and I think you to know that hoi pratontes, those doing the things which are not just, so those acting unjustly, they will not, the sense here, homologio, agree, I think, or perhaps acknowledge, so that those doing things that are not just, they do not acknowledge that their enemies to speak the truth. So those who do evil things will not acknowledge that their enemies are in fact speaking the truth, but that they themselves, pseudominoi, lying, and me ken omenoi, this is from me ken no, in the middle, contriving. So, but they themselves lying and contriving such things, orgas tois akuusi katatone ta dikaya pratonton paraskuadzusi. Literally, they prepare, or perhaps they arouse anger for the ones hearing against the ones who are acting justly. So just to do, that's complicated a little bit there. So, for I think you, and he's addressing the jury here, for I think that you know that the ones who act unjustly will not agree or will not acknowledge that their enemies are speaking the truth, but that they themselves lying and contriving such things, paraskuadzusi, well, they perhaps they try to, or perhaps almost stir up anger for those who are hearing, that is for you, the jury, against the ones who are acting justly. Proton men un aganothi ton nomon. Firstly, therefore, anagnothi is an imperative from anagnosko, to read. So read out the law. Now we have in these speeches readings of the law, and they've been not included in the texts that have come down to us. So at this stage there is a reading of the law, presumably the law that he's relying on. Now sections 29 to 36 form the arguments for the legality of his action. So he's described what's happened. Now he has to prove that what he did was in fact legal. And that's the next 8 sections. This is sometimes called the pistes, or the evidence. Uk hemes bete o andres, uk homologe adikain. Now this is from amphisbatio is the verb. It's a verb that continues on into the New Testament as well. Notice the double augment. We get an augment there and another one in here, but it's actually amphi. It means to dispute. So he was not disputing, O gentlemen of the jury, but homologe, from homologio, he was confessing that he did wrong. And hopos, and that me apothenein antibole kai hikatuin. This again is from antibolio with a double augment again. So he entreated and supplicated, not that he might die. So he supplicated that he might not die. So we get a men there, and there's the balancing de. So he didn't dispute, gentlemen of the jury, but he confessed he did wrong, and that he and so that he might not, I should take the hopos with this, so that he might not die, he supplicated and he begged and supplicated, and he was hetoimos, he was ready, apotinein, to pay cremata money. Ego determinaut ekenu timemati ug sunekerun. Sun chorio is to agree. So, but I, u sun ekarun, I did not agree with the timemati, with the proposed penalty, ekenu, of that man. Now we get a nice men here. So I didn't agree with the proposed penalty that that man put forward, but Agsiun, I determined it right. I determined the law of the city to be kurioteron, more binding. Comparative here from kurios. More legally binding is more the sense of it here. So I didn't agree with the penalty that he put forward, but I deemed the law of the city to be more binding, and I took this penalty. In other words, I killed him. The penalty which you yourselves, having regarded to be most just, the superlative there. So you having regarded to be most just, etaxete, you drew up for the ones practicing, dative plural participle here, for the ones practicing ta toiata, such things. So I wasn't prepared to accept the money he offered, rather I regarded the laws as more binding, and I took this as, I took this revenge almost, I took this penalty, which you, having thought to be most just, you drew up for the ones who practice such things. Kai moi anabeati tuton martures. Now this is addressed to the witnesses, as you can see from the verb here. So you witnesses of these things, anabino is to step up, to give evidence. So it's take the stand, and the moi is that ethic dative, please. So please, you witnesses of these things, take the stand. Anabaiti. And again, we don't have the witness statements, we just have this martures. We don't know who the witnesses were. Presumably it was some of the people that were there on the night, but we don't know who they were. Here we just get martures. And then he says, anagnothi demoi katuton ton nomon ton ektes steles tes ex areupagu. Another imperative from anagnosko to read. And again, this moi is an ethic dative, so please read also this law, the one from the stele, on the one that's on the Areopagus, or from the Areopagus. So the laws were written down on tablets of some sort, this stele, for people to read. The Areopagus was the usual place for dealing with murder trials, but when it was a straight-out murder, this was a slightly more complicated case. So he has a reading of the law. We don't know exactly what law he's reading out here. Acuete o Andres, hoti auto to dicasterio te ex Areupagu. Hear, O men, that for the court, the one from the Areopagus, and in opposition to that, the one which is Patreon in our fathers' time, kai ephemon, and in our own time, I think it's something like that there. Apodeditai was given, given Dicasdane to judge the cases involving murder. So slightly awkward expressions here. So hear, O gentlemen, that in the court itself, the one from the Areopagus, the one which is in our father's time and also in our own, had been given out to judge cases of murder. Dia redain erato tutu me katagignoskain phonon. This is an adverb, dia redain. It means something like explicitly. The re root here, the raid, is from that aorist passive root from lego. And the dia emphasises that. So this is normally rendered explicitly. It has been said, me kataginoske, and that's to condemn. Not to condemn the murder of this man, the murder of this man. So whoever poesante, sorry, this is again a bit difficult here. I think it's to take, whoever might take vengeance, having caught the adulterer, whoever might take this act of vengeance, having caught the adulterer with his own wife. So that's a little bit, again, I'm a bit slow with that bit there. I'll just redo that there. So explicitly it is said not to condemn the murder of this man, whoever might take upon himself this act of vengeance or this punishment, having caught the moikos, the adulterer, well, it's almost in the presence of or with his own wife. Dama is a poetic word meaning wife. It would have sounded odd at this stage to the jury. It's a very poetic word, very endearing perhaps, and he's trying to stir emotions here, I think. So that's his argument here. The law itself says that you should not find guilty of murder someone who takes the adulterer and exacts that punishment, takes upon himself this punishment, having caught the adulterer with his own wife. And that's the end of this part of the speech.